So governments everywhere trying to, do what they can to slow the spread of coronavirus, but also limit that impact on the economy. I mean, that's incredibly difficult. No one's really achieving it yet, are they?
Well, what we have seen actually in most countries is that there has been a pickup in activity. So the easing of restrictions has helped. But of course, we've known for some time that it couldn't just carry on like that, and that there was likely to be a second wave of sorts. So far, the economies have continued to recover, but what we've seen in places like the UK is quite a slowdown in that recovery, even in the summer months when things were opening up. And that is, of course, because confidence has been affected. People are worried about their jobs. So new restrictions are obviously going to have a wider impact on people's willingness to shop, people's willingness to invest. So businesses are reining back investment very significantly. And we see that actually across Europe, not just in the UK.
Right. And where you have partial lockdowns, like we've seen here in the UK, where you have businesses in one part of the country shutting down, businesses in another part of the country allowed to carry on, doesn't that entrench divisions which are already quite wide?
You're absolutely right. And there is a serious problem that we may be coming out of this at some point in the future, with inequalities having increased across the UK. I think there's similar issues in other countries because places that have been badly affected by coronavirus recently are also ones that have struggled economically in terms of recovering, but also the ones that have tended to be, or some of them anyway, way behind London, for example. So the whole idea of this government here in the UK under Boris Johnson had been to level up and ensure that regional inequality was reduced. The worry is that particularly with those extra restrictions in areas across the UK, which are not falling everywhere in the same way, we're going to come out of it with inequalities having increased rather than decreasing. But it is obviously something we can't necessarily control in terms of how the virus is spreading, but it is adding to the pain that some regions are already feeling.
And the International Monetary Fund has been warning that economies face a long, uneven and uncertain ascent. That's their words. What can banks and governments do to try and help that process?
I'm afraid in the short term, the only thing they can do is continue to borrow, the ones that can. The ones that cannot have to get some support from others. We have seen that in Europe, for example, a number of countries are now being helped because of the easing of some of the restrictions on the deficits under Eurozone rules. We've seen that happening in Greece, in Spain, and in Italy, for example. And there is a big recovery fund that's going to be helping Europe. In many other countries, the fiscal stimulus has been very significant, whether that's in the UK, in the US, in Japan, for example. And the monetary authorities have put huge amounts of liquidity into the economy through quantitative easing and supporting, if you like, the selling of bonds of the finance ministries, so that there is a backup. So they're in there buying those bonds in the secondary market, lowering interest rates, and with a bit of luck, they hope that is going to keep their economies going. And when the recovery comes, then we'll have to see what can be done to salvage the situation in terms of public finances.
Vicky, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Vicky Pryce in London there.